You all are in for a treat because Deb has an amazing background, someone I really admire. I saw a quote that Bono said Deb has firecracking energy, great creativity, and a hardcore business background. So not everybody has that kind of quote from Bono. That is pretty cool. But Deb is amazing, has a career across corporate work, as a Wall Street attorney. She was executive vice president at a record label, Nairi, some music connections here. Also the first female CEO of the Recording Academy, which is amazing. Was president of Disney Publishing Worldwide. When I really clued into like the magic of Deb is when she was the CEO of Red, which is Bono's founded organization, really focused on eradicating AIDS, malaria. I'm probably missing one, maybe tuberculosis.
Yeah.
That's right. And now is the CEO of Beyond Type 1, which is an amazing nonprofit focused on eradicating type 1 diabetes. But Deb, I just find what you've done so inspiring around bringing different organizations together to drive impact, product for good as a mechanism for fundraising. So thinking outside the box, getting outside of the like just writing grants cycle for nonprofits. And also you've been super innovative around raising funds for funding operations and infrastructure as well as the work.
Thank you all for being here. I mean, I really did go to your websites and study a little bit about what each of you are doing, and I'm so wildly inspired and impressed. What I've looked at my career, and a lot of it has been around storytelling. So I've been chair of the Moth, and there everything is about, true stories in front of a live audience, being vulnerable, and that you were going through life this way, and then this happened, and now you're this way. And those stories of humanity and connecting are just so universal. And of course, they've been passed down, for ages. But it's more important now, than ever with AI and just moving to much more objectivity and everything like that. And so I see with each of your, when you say what I want to be doing in 5 years, your narrative and your stories are so compelling and so what the world needs. And I help teach a class called Think Bigger. And we've now done the whole class through AI. And basically, it's when you're trying to problem solve to sometimes think outside of your domain, to think outside the normal, right? So if you're looking at fundraising and partnerships and you're trying to figure out, gosh, what should my business model be? I'll have this much that I hope to get from high net worth individuals, this one from maybe family foundations that care about youth and what's going on. There's, grants from these places, there's corporate foundations, there's corporations with purpose, and then there's corporations that just have money, right? And so there's a whole wide spectrum of what will your business model look like. But there's the obvious, and then there's just spending some time on the not obvious. But when I look at the spectrum of where you can get money in and the different models, is there a way to have a sustainable model where there's somebody that believes in it that would give two each year? And that could be a high net worth individual. Is there a company that's so aligned in your values and everything that they would give two a year? And then is there, by doing your own pitches and different, corporate partnerships, a way that you can really reach two a year? Then you can breathe, right? Then you can breathe because it's very hard when you start at zero each year. The old partner values would be like you give, you get, and now it's really about shared outcomes. It's really about like getting with somebody and collaborating about what is the problem that we're trying to solve. We're thinking about it this way. So Also, people don't feel like you're just approaching them all the time for their money. People want to feel that you want their brain and their creativity and their skill set. And then at the end of the day, you'd say, "Oh, and wouldn't it be wonderful if we could also say you contributed, monetarily to make this health equity program work," or something like that. But it shouldn't really be your first in. You want the win-win, right? That they have something great to put in their annual report, that it's aligned with their purpose. I would be strategic about entering into it. If something's going to give you, and by the way, it doesn't have to be money. I think people get very caught up on, is it worth it in the money? It could be worth it in the reach that all of a sudden you're in a store window that you wouldn't have been in. And so the money's not great, but you're getting something else of value that your brand needs. Um, so what's replaced it? Again, I do like those things that are at checkout that are just an easy plus dollar. Anything that's reoccurring, anything that's so on brand. Really good question, and you're not going to like my answer, but it's both. Sometimes, in the corporate foundation, they they one of their pillars, is about mental health, and then you want to talk to them, and then sometimes it's somebody with marketing seckle who gets why the brand is so on par and how creatively it can look like this. I know it's obvious. I always look for the champion in the room. Like there's just going to be one person that gets it when you're having a meeting of six people or whatever, and then that's your person. Like then they help you navigate the company. One, have to just strategize yourself. What's the problem to be solved? Who are the possibilities? Then you have to explore those possibilities of, like I said, maybe thinking out of the domain, what kind of business model they have, what's their reputation, are they collaborative? Then you ideate, right? And you think, okay, what capabilities do they have? What can we do that's out of the box? Then you actually engage. You actually have to figure out how to contact them, which again, I can't stress enough. Work on your networks now of like in all different areas. Who do you know? And and literally go to things that are outside of your area just to meet more people in finance, just to meet more people in entertainment and music, just to meet more people who are doing AI in a really cool way, and literally know people in each thing, because then they can be the ultimate connectors. But then you have a meeting where you're like pitching and you're generating excitement. You're looking for that champion in the room, and then you have to activate. You've got to do like a letter of intent with a work plan and timelines, and how we do an approval process, what's the budget, who's doing what, really clear. And then, oh my God, a communication plan, how we evaluating it, how we reporting back. So that strategize, explore, engage, activate, evaluate, that takes a long time. It takes a bit. That being said, I think it's faster now than it used to be, because you can just like quote, speed and scale. I know you're the type of company that likes to get things done fast. Compliment them to death, to say, uh, oh, you're the, I see, Grace, that you're so good at like getting around bureaucracy and just getting it done. So how do you suggest we do that here? That kind of thing of energy, rather than falling into their slow process. I have a few thoughts. I mean, there are organizations like Music Cares that should totally be interested, that should hear you out. It's also great, and I know it's not easy, but if you have a champion like like Chance the Rapper or somebody that you could get to their management and say, this cool thing's happening. And I just think, yeah, and I don't know that it's Chance, but the only reason why I say him is because his management really cares about stuff like that. And people, there's so many people, like if you look at the reform movement on prison reform that was started by Jay-Z, and the amount of musicians and people that just want a second chance, and what that means, you're tapping on something that's so important. um, you've just got to align with who are the artists and the creatives that would align on that. It's not easy, but it does happen. It's actually how it always happens. It's just somebody knows somebody who just says, have you seen this cool thing? And even in the comments, a lot of times when you post something, somebody will say, that's so cool. And you realize that somebody that's an influencer, or even a micro influencer, which has like a good following or a connection. It's not easy, but on something like that, that's just so powerful, you're going to find your people. You will find your people. And I think and again, if I can help in any way, but it's almost like a ball of yarn, and you have to go like this, and you have to say, okay, there's music cares, they care about musicians, they care about their mental health. Who are the artists that like care about mental health? Oh, it's John Legend. Oh, it's this and that. How do I get to John Legend? Oh, here's his publicist, here's his manager, here's his tour person, like, right? And then all of a sudden you got this web, and then because of LinkedIn, that somebody knows his tour person. I know it's wacky, but that's like how it happens. And you guys are all about the human connection. And so use it to your advantage. So you really have to do it case by case. The bottom line is definitely to try to have in your documents that you expect the company to have best business practices. So that's like a bottom line, because you don't want to, like, all of a sudden there was like a corruption thing, and and you say, listen, I'm not the SEC. I am a small not-for-profit. We vet as best as we can, hoping they have the best business practices, but we can't fall on our sword for every activity they do. A corporation's like a human. We're all flawed. There's good sides, there's bad sides. They could do so much good and then just have some chip that is being manufactured by kids, like somewhere that you would never know. So you can only do the best you can. And I look at reputation. You don't want something that's going to harm your reputation. And by the way, sometimes the money is really big, that you don't want to walk away from it because it can make a swooping thing for good. We're not the SEC. We can no way look at all of the business practices, but we just hope, and we will always be transparent. We will always call out what we don't think is okay. It's more difficult, but it is part of your vetting exploration process. What's their business model? Are they doing good? Because there's now a spectrum. There's not for profit. There's B Corp like Patagonia. There's there's companies with purpose that have profit and purpose. And then there's companies that just are about profit, and you might not want to deal with them so much. There's so much to that. And how do you make it almost like an emblem of a stamp of good practices, but like some kind of thing that you're a company like this. So like Edelman is a big communication company that does so much about trust factor. Could there be the Edelman 7-second challenge? When you see something you like, figure out how they did it. Not the end come, but what was their approach? What was their approach that got them to be that? Um, and you can learn by the case studies of others, you know. So I do think there's something there, and that you're doing the right thing. Think of their brand first versus yours, right?
Yeah,
Who aligns? They want to do something very artistic, and usually creative is the best way to get to creatives, right? And my final words of just advice is be strategic. You can be all over the place, right? And just try to focus on what is it that you think might move the needle. I'm a big proponent of John Doerr's Measure What Matters, and having like OKRs, and just like being really strategic, because you want to do so much good, and everything sounds good, you know. But just to focus, I need a business model that works. What's going to make this business model work? Who's going to get me from here to there faster, like, you know. And partner in ways that involve skill sets, not just money.
amazing. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
Deb. We are so grateful for you taking the time.
Thank you. Continue your
Thank you
great
so
work. I'm
much.
honored to help in any way.